just go back and look at other older ones?
They could, but then some people really like to take it as
Where you do
live, yes. But yes, they could, but the problem with that is then, I mean, I'm not recording anymore, so there'll never be any new ones added.
Right.
So,
Right, I can see that.
you know, I'll keep recording for now. It is Monday, the 14th of June, and we're here for Journal. So, there are also, like, last week I got 5 new people, somebody you know, yes, who are interested in starting classes. So that's another reason why I'm kind of juggling with what I should do. But if you all think you'd be comfortable with 12 people in here, most of you have been here either before or for a long time now. So we'll try to keep going the way we're doing for now. So sit comfortably. Let yourself, if you're in your chair, just make sure you have your feet hips distance apart and parallel. If you're on the floor, if you want to sit on blankets, do it. If you want to stretch your legs out because that feels better. Or if you're fine to sit cross-legged, use your blocks if you need to underneath your legs so that you don't feel uncomfortable up into your hips. And then just lengthen up through the top of your head. Let your eyes gently close and bring your hands to where it feels really good for your shoulders, so that you can lengthen up through the top of your head and feel your shoulders soften down away from your ears. So you can feel your sitting bones reaching down into the surface you're on. And then just as your eyes are just gently closed, feel your breath coming in and going out through your nose. Just enjoy feeling the breath as it comes in and goes out. Maybe even letting the breath come into your belly. And eventually coming in towards those 3-part breaths as long as you're comfortable. Inhaling into your belly, into your ribs, and then all the way up into your chest. On your next exhale, let your hands come on out beside you. And if you're on the floor, fingertips lightly touching the ground there. And we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down through the midline in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse and inhale our hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And let's make one big arm circle. Inhale your arms forward, palms are facing each other, but when they get up overhead, how far you go back is up to you. Letting the hands come down, and then we'll reverse. So we'll inhale, reaching back behind ourselves and up and over the top, and letting the hands come on right back down to be beside you. Let's inhale once we're here. And on the exhale, twist to your right. So let yourself bring your left hand around towards your right knee, or maybe to the midline, don't overdo. Wake up your spine there, lengthen up through the top of your head. And feel your chin about parallel to the floor so you feel easy in the back of your neck. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll make our way back through center and all the way into the other direction. And again, find that length in the back of your neck and throat. And see if you can press down gently into your feet, whatever part of your feet are touching the floor. So you feel your belly engage a little more. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll make our way back into center again. And from here, release your arms out. Let your hands circle around a little bit. So circling through, moving through the wrists, reversing to go the other way. Good, and then shake your hands out a little bit, let them come on down. If you're cross-legged on the floor, stretch your legs out for a second and then switch the cross of your legs, right? So you bring your other leg in front and you feel Again, like you can lengthen up through the top of your head. And then we'll release our arms down beside us. Let's inhale the right arm all the way out and up overhead, and then bend your elbow. And where your hand comes is up to you. Let yourself just feel the triceps stretching a bit. Some of you might even want to bring your left arm up and over the top and come over to hold your elbow. Not necessary. Obviously, if your shoulder doesn't like that, don't do it. And then release your left arm down. Stretch your right arm up long overhead. And we're going to come over into side stretch. Hand on the floor, if that helps you to give you a little support there. You can put your hand in your lap if you'd rather, if you're in your chair, or let your arm hang. Hold on to your chair if you want. One more breath. And then we're going to come on back up. We're going to lower that arm on down. And we're going to inhale the left arm all the way out and up. And then again, let yourself bend your elbow. So it's optional here, whether you let your right arm come up and over the top or not. So be mindful and let your gaze stay forward so you don't feel like you're doing this, right? It's almost like your heart comes forward just a little bit. Good. And then we'll release, bringing our right arm down. Left arm's going to come long, and we're going to come over into that side stretch. Breathing into that side you're stretching, letting yourself feel the ribs expand as you inhale. On this side, right? You can literally feel that space increase. One more breath. And then we'll rise on back up, lower our arms on down. And let's inhale the arms forward of our chest. And then bring your hands together and clasp them. And really squeeze your palms together too. So you feel your biceps. Bend your elbows a little bit. And then bend your elbows more so that you can turn your hands over and press out now into the heels of your hands. So really enjoy feeling that sense of pressing equally into your hands. Feel your fingers, your wrists. And then bring the hands on back in. Shake them out just a little bit. And then from here, you might want to come away from your chair a little bit. Let yourself exhale a little bit forward and inhale back up. Now you might have your legs long. You might be cross-legged. But just keep your back long and let yourself exhale as you come forward and inhale when you come back up, so that you're moving with your breath. It doesn't have to be far forward. You may feel like you just barely want to move a little bit forward. And then, the next time you come forward, let yourself stay there. Now, you may be on the floor, want to put your hands down. If you're in your chair, you might want to separate your feet wider and put your elbows above your knees. If you're on the floor and you want to walk farther out with your hands, do it, but be mindful of your back. Don't do anything that lets your low back feel uncomfortable, right? You're more than welcome to let your head hang too, if that feels okay. Let yourself breathe. Easy breaths. One more breath here. We're going to take our time to rise back up, so be mindful as you come on back up and let your arms release on out beside you again. Then we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. And let's unfold our arms, shake out a little bit. We're coming around towards our hands and knees, so if you know you don't want to be on your knees, do not be. Grab a blanket. If you feel like you'd rather stay up so you're not on your knees at all, you can be standing and have your hands on a chair. You can even do cat-cow with your hands on your thighs like this. So you can move through your back with your hands on your thighs. You can have your hands as fists if your wrists bother you. So adjust accordingly. Let yourself now start to feel that sense of moving through your spine. Very naturally, flowing through the back. Feeling the tailbone initiate. Let your awareness come to your tailbone doing that first movement, and then just flow upward through your spine, whether you're coming into your cat or your cow. Good. We're going to finish off the one we're on and come back to a more neutral spine here now. let's look over to the right. Let yourself just rise your right hand off the floor and send your hand straight out from your shoulder. So you're looking out at your hand right here. And then if you can let the hand come up higher, do. If your shoulder lets you, you can rise it all the way up towards the ceiling. Not necessary to do that. And then bring the hand on back down, and we'll look to the left. Left arm comes up about parallel to the floor. If you can just turn your head to look at it. And how high you feel like it wants to keep going, that's totally up to you. And then we'll release, bring the hand on back down. We're going to bring our left foot forward and our right foot back and come into a lunge here. So, you know, if you're using your blocks, you'd want them maybe the highest height, maybe the second, maybe the lowest. That's up to you. And let yourself come into your lunge like you're on very narrow railroad tracks, right? Have your hands underneath your shoulders. If you're using your blocks, just make sure they're not way out on the floor. Let them give you a little support by being underneath your hands. And then take your time. Feel the feet in the floor. Feel the length, the low back here, the length of the back body, I mean. And then we're going to switch legs. How you do that is totally up to you. So be mindful as you adjust. Again, now how long you take your stance in your lunge is totally up to you. Just make sure you're not bending that front knee out beyond your ankle, so you're not putting undue pressure on that front knee. Feel that length again in the back of your body, and really reach into that inner left heel. Feel your calf, the back behind your knee there. Good. We are going to switch legs again. So again, once you get back into your lunge, the length you like, if you feel like you want to bring your left hand up to your thigh there, or if you're down lower, maybe you just want to put your forearm down and keep your right hand down, or you can bring both hands up if you want to. You can let both your hands come up onto above your knee, or you can just experiment a little bit with rising that right hand to meet the left hand. And then we're going to switch legs again. So again, keeping hands down is fine. If you feel pretty good about pressing your feet away from each other and bringing your right hand or your forearm up to your thigh, you can. Stretching out the back of that left leg, and again, lengthening through the back body. Nice. We're going to bring our hands down if they were up, and we're going to step forward. Come on into standing forward bend with our feet hips distance apart and parallel. And be really mindful. You know, if you need to keep your back long, you know, this is the one thing they talk about with osteopenia or osteoporosis, is not to round and put weight into your back this way, that you want to keep your back lengthened out. There are a lot of ways to do that. Yeah? Elbows above your knees with the knees bent, or hands on your blocks or your chair. And it's fine if you're comfortable to fold, go for it. If you like to let yourself really hang, feel the weight of your head. But just be aware now, feeling your breath coming into your ribs, expanding your ribs in all directions. Let go through your face. Let your jaw release if you're feeling tightness there. Good. And then we'll let our hands come on up to our hips. We're going to bend our knees and rise straight on up and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So coming into your mountain pose here now, take your time to find your way into how far apart you want your feet, right? Some people like their feet together, right? I prefer hips distance apart, feet pretty parallel. And then letting your gaze come on forward and out. Spread your fingers a little bit, and just whether your eyes are open or closed, imagine you're looking out beyond the wall, out towards the horizon. And then see if you can separate your pointer fingers a little bit. You're still looking forward though. Try not to look at your hands. And then let the fingers come back together, and then go to your middle fingers coming apart. And then let them reconnect. And let's go to our ring fingers coming apart a little bit. And then let them come back to meet. Now your pinkies. And then let them meet again. And now your thumbs a little bit. And now let the thumbs come back. And really feel now that connection through each of your fingers, your thumbs. Feel your hands together there and feel your feet really firmly grounding you now as you think of lifting up through the top of your head. Enjoying that quiet strength of simply standing in your mountain pose. And then we'll let our arms softly unfold down beside us and inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, we'll bend our knees, come forward into that standing forward bend. And on your next inhale, find a nice long flat back. Hands can come wherever you want to. Your chair, your blocks, your legs. And let's step our right foot back and find a lunge here. So coming back into that lunge now, draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Gently press your feet away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. And we're going to make our way into a downward facing dog pose. Now where your hands are for your down dog is up to you. If you're in the chair, your heels will be on the floor. You'll be lengthened back through your spine here. Same thing if your hands are on blocks any height. You might be back a little bit further that way. That depends on you. Or you might have your hands on the floor and be in an upside down V, right? On our next inhale, we're gonna come on out towards a plank. You don't have to do a full push-up pose, but you're more than welcome to if you choose. You can come with knees down. You can go onto your forearms to get out of your wrists. So you want to find where you can be. You can bend your elbows if you like and do push-ups if it feels really good to you. Try to keep yourself elbows coming in towards the ribs with yoga style push-ups. And then we'll come on back into downward facing dog pose. Walk a little bit if you can. Just bend a knee at a time easily. Let yourself kind of feel the backs of one leg at a time there. And then come on back to your full dog. And we will bring our right foot forward to come into lunge here. So coming into your lunge, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. And again, if you can, gently press your feet away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer, do. Good, and we'll step forward and come into standing forward bend here. And be mindful again, if you need that long back, use whatever support you need. And come into watching your breaths again. So let yourself find those little spaces between your breaths. Feel your inhales. At the top of that inhale, just feel that little space before you exhale. And the same thing when you get to the end of your exhale, just feel that little space or pause before you inhale. One more breath. And as we bring our hands to our hips, we're going to bend our knees, press into our feet, and rise up and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale our hands right up through the midline here now. And on the exhale, open the arms like wings as we fold forward into standing forward bend. On your next inhale, find that flat back. It's like a tabletop back. You can bend your knees to do it. And this time, left foot will step back to come into lunge. And again, draw the shoulders down. Let yourself press the feet away from each other. Feel your whole body in your lunge. Good, and we're going to come into the downward facing dog pose. Again, it is your choice where your hands are. You want to feel okay in your shoulders. Hug your elbows gently towards each other. You can bend your knees as much as you need to in a down dog. Think of your spine. You're getting your backs, your legs open, even if your knees are bent. And then we'll come on out towards that plank. Again, totally up to you if you want to put your knees down. If you feel like you want to come onto your forearms, by all means do. If you like push-ups, you can bend your elbows. Good. We're going to come on back again into down dog from here. Reaching back through the sitting bones equally. Imagine the sides of your body are equally long. And this time, the left foot comes forward to come into lunge. If you need to put your right knee down to get there, or if you need to come up and back into the lunge, by all means do. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. And again, be mindful of your own back. You know, myself, I really like having a chair in front of me and using it. If you're at home and you have a chair or you're here, you know, sometimes getting your head onto the chair, that lengthens your back. If you bend your knees, if that's fine, you know, just let yourself enjoy wherever you are. Those of you who like to fold all the way, if you want to hold your own elbows, you're more than welcome to hold your elbows or let your hands come wherever you need, to blocks or the floor. Hold your ankles if you want. One more full deep breath. And then we'll bend our knees and bring our hands to our hips and rise back up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's unfold our arms here and inhale our right arm all the way up. And then turn your palm up towards the ceiling so your fingers turn to face the midline, right? Remember, I'm not mirroring because of the camera. Press up into the heel of that hand. And then let yourself come over into side stretch here so that you move through to really keep pressing into the heel of your hand. Now try to feel the feet equal on the floor. Bend both your knees just a little bit. Try to feel equal between your feet. And then as you rise back up, legs straighten up, we're going to lower that arm down and just switch to go to the other side. So again, your fingertips turn towards the midline here of your body. Press up into the heel of that hand and then come over into that side stretch. So breathing into the ribs here. Bend the knees a little bit if you can again. Really feel your quads there when you bend your knees. Press into your feet equally. And then keep pressing into the feet as you straighten up a little bit with the knees and lower the arms on down. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, we're going to bend the knees and come forward into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that nice flat back. And from here, we're just going to walk into down dog. So you decide what height you want your hands to be, and then walk yourself back into down dog. Elbows hug in towards the ribs. Take your time here. Towards each other, I meant. And then let yourself come on out to plank. Now, you can do a back bend here or not. You can stay in plank. You can, if you want, come to the floor and come onto your forearms and do a sphinx. You can do a little cobra if you want, or an up dog like this. Or you don't have to do a back bend at all. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. So walk your dog a little bit, take your time there. And then again, let yourself come on out to plank. Again, if you want to do a back bend and you don't want to go fully into like this up dog here, you can come down to the mat, come onto forearms into a sphinx pose, or you can bring your hands by your chest, come up into a little cobra. And then we're going to make our way back to downward facing dog pose. So again, however you choose to do that, let yourself come on back into your down dog. Good, and this time, let's bring our right foot forward to come into lunge. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Feet, hips distance apart, parallel as you can be. Lift your toes up for a second if you can. And make sure you're not rolling to the outside of your feet or to the inside of your feet, but you feel like your base of your big toe mound and the base of your little toe mound are equally into the ground. And then let the toes just softly come on back down. Watch your breath coming all the way in and out. Imagine you're relaxing in those little spaces between your breaths. And then we'll let our hands come on back up to our hips, bend our knees. We're going to rise up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So find your mountain pose again, and if that means you need to wiggle around a little bit or shift around or, readjust anything, do. So that you feel once you come back to your gaze forward, you feel very balanced between your feet. If you need to sway a little bit back and forth, side to side, do it. So that you feel like you're very equally balanced between your feet. Your tailbone is reaching down towards between your heels. Remember, you don't want to tuck your tailbone forward, but you do want to feel that lift of the low belly, right? The tailbone's reaching down towards between your heels. And you can even picture your spine for a second. You know? Imagine the way our spines are built, we have all this movement in our spines, but we also have all the muscles alongside of the spine to keep it in alignment. Good. And then we'll unfold our arms right on down beside us. And you can move around whatever you need to. Walk around if you need to. And we're going to come into a warrior one this first pose. So I like to turn my chair around. You might want to have your chair. You definitely want to have your black blocks handy there. And we're going to step our right foot back. And we're going to draw our shoulders around so that they're square to the front edge of the mat. So see if you can really get mindful about lining up that front knee. Remember, you don't want it to go way out beyond your toes. It's a lot of pressure for the knee. And you want this back foot to be turned out where you feel good in this knee and in this hip and open across the front of your right hip here. Good. And then let's bring our arms on forward. We're going to circle, make a big circle with our arms. Reach back behind ourselves a little bit and then bring them down. And then as we inhale, we're going to let the arms come on up. You can widen them out as much as you want. You can bring your gaze up if that feels okay, but you don't have to. See if you can imagine a lift kind of right at the base of your shoulder blades. Almost like you have something back there that you're leaning back into a little bit, but your belly is strong, right? So there's no pressure in the low back. Feeling that uplift through the front of the body. Now energy all the way out through your fingertips. Really feel your hands. Let your pinkies turn towards each other a little bit more so you soften your shoulders down. One more inhale. And then as you exhale, lower the arms down beside. You're going to straighten your front knee out, and we're going to come on forward for pyramid. Now, if you've got a chair, you can put your hands on the back of the chair. Stay up higher. You can come down to the seat of the chair. Or you can put your hands down onto your blocks, right? So you got to decide if you need to readjust your feet because you're trying to keep your hips fairly level. You're really keeping that back heel grounded. Your thighs are engaging up towards your hips and your legs are both straight. So there's a lot of leg work going on here. Really opening up the backs of the legs, but also as your thighs lift up, you know, you're feeling that really strengthening all around your knees because you're using your legs. We're going to, from here, put our left hand on our left hip and roll that left shoulder up. And you can put your hand just right there onto your low back. You can stretch the arm up if you want. I personally don't exactly like stretching up in this revolved triangle pose with my arm, but you can. Depends on your shoulders. Good, and then we'll come on down with our hand here. Take your time. Feel your thighs still lifting up towards your hips. If you like to fold over the leg a little bit or a lot, you can do that. You can let yourself come forward if that feels okay. And then come up enough. We're going to walk around. Now, I'm going to use my blocks, but you can use your hands on the floor. We're going to walk around into a wide-legged forward bend. So it's kind of fun to use your blocks like extensions of your arms. Let yourself get your feet pretty parallel to each other, right? And wider than your shoulders. How much wider than your shoulders is totally up to you. And keep your back nice and long for a second. Let yourself from there bend your right knee a little bit. And then come back and bend your left knee. Keep your right knee long with your back long. So you may not be bending very deeply. Do that a couple of times, really finding your inner thighs there. Good. And then come on back into center and let's walk our hands over towards the right. Now you might just walk your blocks a little to the right? Or you may want to walk all the way over towards your right foot. Take your time. Feel that left foot gently pressing a little more away from the midline so you feel a little more in that leg. And then walk back through center and we'll go to the left. Again, you might just walk your blocks. You might want to walk more towards your foot. Press the right foot gently away from the midline. Good. And then we'll come on back into center again. And then from here, you take your time. If you need to stack your blocks up, if it feels really good to go to your forearms, to get out of your hands, Or maybe it feels good to you to bend your knees and put your elbows above your knees to support your back. And you can always, if you choose, release all the way. I mean, you can even put your head on your blocks if you have your elbows above your knees. Or you can release all the way to hang, right? So if you prefer to bring your hands back more towards between your feet, do. And then watch those breaths. Now, if you can imagine your breaths being equally important, the inhales and exhales, then maybe they'll even out a little bit. So let yourself just feel the inhales and exhales becoming more towards the same length. Good. One more breath. And now to come up from this, be mindful, take your time, bring your hands wherever you need to help yourself on up to standing. And if you're dizzy, if you want to keep your feet wide for a little bit first, when you're ready to bring your feet on together, do shake out, move through, whatever you need. And we are going to come to the other side on that. So left foot's going to step back and get your blocks back handy so you have them if you need them there. And we'll step our left foot back for warrior one. So, you know, if you need your feet to get a little wider apart, you don't have to go into a long stance to be in a warrior one. Your feet can be 18 inches apart. Same thing about the bend of the front knee, and you can widen them like you're on narrow railroad tracks. So if your hips feel better that way, let your feet be wider apart, right? So you're not lining up your heels. But you got to get comfortable in your own hips and comfortable in this back left knee and hip. Now, let your arms hang for a second. We're going to do that big circle. So you got to really use right here, the belly, the low back, and the hips. And we'll inhale the arms forward and up. We're going to circle them all the way as far back behind us as we can. And then as we inhale them up, they're going to stay up. They can widen into a V. You can let your gaze lift. Again, if you can imagine a bar right at the base of your shoulder blades that you're just kind of lifting up and over a little bit. So feel that lift of the belly, the release of the low back. There's not any compression in the low back. And now feel energy all the way up through your fingertips. Like you're really almost like you're sending sparks up through your fingertips. One more breath. And then bring your gaze on forward, lower your arms on down. We're going to straighten that front knee out. We're going to bring our hands down. Now, if you got the chair there, it's kind of fun because you can put your hands on the back of the chair and adjust your stance before you go lower. I know I can't sell many of you guys on chairs, but I keep saying, one day I'm going to make you all get one. But take your time, get your hands to whatever height you like, and then, of course, adjust your stance if you need to in your pyramid pose. Both legs are straight. Back foot is fully on the floor, and it's turned just slightly into that 20 or 30 degree angle. And now just enjoy lengthening out through your spine like you have a very flat back here. And when you're ready to bring your right hand to your right hip and you start to look to your right, man, that comes really deeply into the outside of your right leg. This is an IT band pose, right? If you feel like you want to release that right arm up, you can. Again, like I said, for me, it's not always the best shoulder thing. So feel those thighs lifting up towards the hips. Good. One more breath. And then let your hand come on back down. Now, if you want to bow over your leg, go for it. If it feels good to let yourself fold over your leg, you can. Keep those thighs engaging upwards so it's almost like you're creating space in your knees. Good. And then we're going to come up enough where we can walk around again into that wide-legged forward bend. So you kind of just get your blocks or your hands around there, adjust how wide your stance is. Feet are pretty parallel to each other, so toes are facing forward. Good. And then just be mindful. If you feel like you want to release to the long back and stay with your breath that way, do. If you need to wiggle around a little bit, shift around, do it. So that when you do finally end up where you're going to stay in the pose to be with your breath, it feels good. And once you do get there where you can start to focus on your breaths in and out, really let your face go. Let your jaw and your face release. Imagine even relaxing your throat. And feel the breath coming in and going out through your nose. One more breath. And then take your time. We're going to come up, but you definitely, again, if you feel like you want to bring your feet closer together before you rise up, do, so that it's real easy to come on up to standing. And then again, as you bring your feet together, if you need to move through your feet and your ankles a little bit, do. And then bring your blocks on back to the front of your mat so we can step our right foot back this time for Warrior Two. So this time you do want to think about lining your heels up, right? So that that left foot is parallel to the long edge of your mat and your right foot is about parallel to the back edge of your mat. And then as you bend that left knee, look at it. Just make sure you're not, the knee often wants to go inward. You want to make sure the knee is coming out pretty much over the center of your foot. And let's just imagine, let your hands stay down for a second. Imagine you have balloons in your armpits and they're going to just slowly blow up, right? So as they blow up, they rise your arms on up and it's soft. I mean, think about as you start to turn to look over the top of the left hand, that you're being held up that way, not by the tops of your arms, but these balloons underneath your arms, right? Let yourself feel soft in the tops of your shoulders. Good. We're going to put our right hand down onto our right hip and straighten our left knee out. We're going to bring our left hand down for triangle. So lengthening the torso out over that left leg. So you want to make sure, it doesn't matter how low you go with your left hand. You can use your leg, you can use your chair, you can use your block, but feel your thighs lifting up towards your hips. Adding the right arm up, straight up from your shoulder is totally optional. Don't have to do that either. You can keep your hand on your hip. Good. We're going to bend the left knee. Come on back to Warrior Two. Feel the feet pressing away from each other. Soften your shoulders down. Again, balloons holding up the arms underneath. And then bring your hands down. We're going to come into a lunge. We're just going to release around. Let the right heel release now directly behind your foot, coming into your normal lunge. Add a little twist to bring a relief. Left hand to the left hip. Roll that left shoulder up, and there you are in your twist. Lengthen out through the top of your head. Good. And then we'll release to bring our hands on back down. We're going to step forward and get our feet right underneath us. Release to where you want your forward bend. Use support above your knees if you need to, or hands on your blocks, or fold forward if that feels good. Nice. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips. We're going to bend our knees and rise on up and inhale our arms out and up overhead. And on our exhale, bring our hands down into mountain pose here. So again, just enjoy. Find your mountain pose. Let it feel like you could stay here forever. Hopefully you feel quite different throughout your body after all the poses we've done. Even before we do the other side, you feel more balanced, but also more space in your spine. And that once you get aligned in your pelvis, it's so easy. Standing in mountain pose is just the easiest thing. You don't even have to think about it, and you can stay there for a very long time. And then we'll release, unfold our arms, shake out a little bit, and we are going to do that to the other side with our left foot back for our Warrior Two. So again, you get your heels in a line, and you get that right foot parallel to the front, the long edge of your mat, and get the back foot where you're comfortable to be. You know, it could be about 90 degrees, it can be parallel to the back edge, or you can send your heel back farther if that feels good. And then bend that front knee and be really mindful of that. Release your arms again on down, and then again, floating, right? So instead of feeling like you're lifting your arms and tensing right here, imagine those balloons are blowing up. Start to look right out over the top of that right hand as you reach back through the left fingertips. Feel the feet on the floor equally. You might even imagine you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. There are your hips. And then we'll put our left hand down to our left hip and straighten our right knee out and bring our right hand down for triangle. So again, the hand can be up above your knee. You can use a block if you want, or two blocks stacked up underneath your right hand there. And if you can draw your left shoulder up towards the ceiling a little bit, maybe even bringing the left arm up, you can, but you don't need to. Totally up to you in your triangle pose. The eyes are lifting up towards the hips. Good, one more breath here. We're gonna bend the right knee. We're gonna rise back to warrior two, which takes a lot of power right there. Pressing the feet away from each other and coming on back. And then let your hands come down. We're finding lunge. So as you release that left heel directly behind you, get your hands in your lunge, whatever height you wanna be. We're gonna bring our right hand to our right hip and roll that shoulder up, coming into twist. So that twist can be done, hands staying down. Remember, you're trying not to drop way down into that left side. You wanna stay pretty even and your hips pretty level. And then if you wanna stretch your right arm up, you can. And from there, we'll bring our hands back down for right into your lunge. And we're gonna step forward and get our feet right underneath us. Actually, widen your feet towards the outside edges of your mat. Your feet are still on the floor though. And bend your knees, put your elbows above your knees for a second, squat back. If anybody wants to go into a lower squat, you're more than welcome to. You can squat all the way down if you choose to. Let yourself release where you feel good in your low back and your hips. Good, one more breath here. And now we're gonna rise up, so you might wanna put your hands on your thighs to help you up and just bring your feet on together and keep walking around a little bit, let your feet move through a little. We're gonna keep our mats where they are, all right? But we are gonna come to a wall just so we can touch somewhere on a wall to do a little balancing work. So kind of find a spot where you feel like you can, just bring your hand to the wall, right? And left hand, let's all do left hand. And we're gonna come into a little tree pose. So when you do, you might wanna be fairly close to the wall. In other words, don't go where your arm is long. Bend your left elbow so you're a little closer. And then bring your right foot in, either heel to the inner ankle or foot to the inner calf. Or if you wanna reach down and bring your foot up to your inner thigh, do. What we're gonna do from here though is a little side stretch, right? So we're gonna bring our right arm up overhead and then lean towards the wall and let your right hand touch the wall for a side stretch in your tree. So you can have your hand on your foot on your calf or down with the toes on the floor, or you can have your foot up high. Now we're gonna come right back up to tree and we're gonna bring the left hand up the wall so both arms are up overhead. And now see if you can just turn that left palm to face the right palm. Maybe you can just balance a little bit there. You don't have to. You got your fingers right there at the wall and you need to use it, use it. Feel the foot gently coming into the inside of your left leg there, and the left leg, inner leg, coming back into your foot. One more breath. And then come on down, turn to face the wall, step your right foot towards the wall, left foot back to a little mini lunge. Now if you can curl your right toes up the wall, do it. Yeah, that's really good work for the joints, but if you can't do it, I totally understand, because I can't on this side. And then bend your left knee, your right knee, keep your left heel on the ground. See if you can maybe bring the knee all the way into the wall. You can make a little pillow with your hands and rest your forehead on your hands. And then just zip up the belly. Feel that calf of that left leg there. If it's not enough, you can go longer. If you feel like, wow, I need to go shorter to keep the heel down, then shorten your stance. Zip up your belly a little bit. Let yourself enjoy opening up and releasing the back of that left leg. One more breath. Oh, and then we're going to come away. We're going to turn right hand to the wall. And again, get kind of close so your elbow's a little bent for your tree. And again, your left heel can come to the inside of your ankle. You can put your foot there if you want to, into the inner calf or into the inner thigh. And now that left outer arm rises up. And then just let yourself reach over and put your fingertips on the wall. And just release there. Breathe into the left side of the body. Feel the foot on your calf or your thigh or the heel into the ankle if that's where you are. Now when you rise back up, feel how your belly has to kind of help you. Come on back up. Let the right hand trail up the wall there if you can. And then you can decide if you want to let go of the wall or not. You don't have to. If you're like, no way, I don't have that balance in me today, don't do it. Keep your hand on the wall. See if you can still feel your foot into the inside of your leg somewhere. Nice. And then we're going to release and come on down with the foot. Turn to face the wall. Right foot steps back. Left foot comes to the wall. Again, if you can curl your toes up the wall, do it. Not necessary. And then get that right heel directly behind you. So don't turn it inward like you're doing that warrior one. Let it be directly behind like a little mini lunge. And then go ahead and bend your left knee in towards the wall. Zip up your belly. You can rest your head on your hands or on the wall. I mean, just do what feels good. And feel that engagement of the belly. Reach your right sitting bone down towards your right heel. And open up the back of that leg. It should feel, it's a really deep calf stretch, but it should feel good. Don't do it if it feels like too much. Good, one more breath. Nice, and then step back, come onto your forearms. Come into a forearm plank here at the wall. You can clasp your hands if you want, send your pinky fingers out. Or if you want to just like cup your hands, wrap one hand around the other fist if that feels better. But just enjoy. Engage, pressing into the wall like you're pushing it away from you. And imagine you're hugging your elbows in towards each other. And then once you get that going and you feel that kind of hollowing, that sucking in your armpits a little bit, imagine your heart melting a little more to the wall, which is what you want to try to do in a forearm plank and in a dolphin pose so that you release between the shoulder blades on your back. Nice. You can stay there. If you feel like you want to shift your hips back and let your forearms come lower down the wall and then straighten your legs out, that's coming more towards a dolphin. I mean, you can get as much as being parallel to the floor with your torso so that you're like a 90-degree angle with your hips. But not everybody wants to do that because this is a definite shoulder thing. So be mindful, don't overdo, just be where you can. Stay in the plank. Good. And then let yourself walk on into the wall and bring your hands behind you for a second and just clasp your hands together. Release your hands a little away from your back as you inhale, and then you let them come back down. Just really letting yourself open up a little bit there. Good. We're going to head down back to our mats and head down onto our bellies on the floor. So let yourself come on down and come onto your belly. Let yourself release your forehead onto your hands, if that's okay for your shoulders. And just breathe into your low back. See if you can let your hips release. And for most of us, that means that our heels kind of hike out. Not everybody, though, does that, right? So you want to try to really let go through the hips. Breathe into your low back. Good. And then come on back into just curl your toes under and start to lift your knees up off the floor. So you're stretching out the bottoms of your feet a little bit. Keep your belly engaged. Your tailbone's going to curl down just a little bit. And then let go of that. Let the knees come back down, come back to the tops of the feet, and let's come into a Sphinx pose with our elbows under our shoulders, spreading the fingers nice and wide. Let yourself look there between your hands. And if this bothers your back, come lower by sliding your elbows down more towards your waist, or maybe, letting them come up higher. That all depends on how it feels in your shoulders. But spread your fingers really wide. Feel your hands on the mat there. Let yourself enjoy. And just really feel the breath as it comes into your belly a little bit. They're not really deep breaths. A little bit more shallow in your breath. Good. And then we're going to release down. And let's come down with our arms alongside us. Turn your palms down towards the ground, right? And your hands are out off your mat, onto the floor. And then from here, when you next inhale, let your head and your legs float up just a little bit, just a little. And when you exhale, bring those all back down. And now keep your head and your legs down and inhale your hands off the floor. Reach back through your fingertips and then release. Let the hands come back down. And now let's go back to the head and the legs, inhaling up, and then see if you can add the hands too. So now you're in your locust pose fully, reaching the fingertips and the toes back towards the wall behind you. One more breath. And then come down, bring your hands back to make a pillow if you can, and bend your knees and let your lower legs come from one side to the other. So you're releasing there from side to side. And you can go as far as you want. I actually like to go to one side and kind of hang out and maybe even do these little kind of double bounces. Like I'll come to one side and just come back a little and then go back to the side because it feels good to me. But, go by what feels good to you. Good. And then we'll come on back in the center again. And now let's reach our arms up into a wide V. So you're actually reaching towards the front corners of your mat. Your palms are down. And now come up to just the tips of your fingers and thumbs on the floor, right? So your head's still down. Your legs are still down. You're up. Your arms are engaged. You're hugging your elbows a little towards each other. And now on your next inhale, let your head and your legs float up a little bit. Now, if you want to let the hands come up, do. If not, you can let yourself have a little support still with the fingertips on the floor, or you can let them come up. It's really the hardest locust there is. One more breath. And then release and come on back down. We're going to make our way towards pose with child. So letting yourself, how far you shift back, totally up to you. You can stay forward onto your forearms with your bottom kind of up in the air, and you still find a great release for your low back and your hips. The more you shift back, if you're finding that your knees don't want you to do that, don't do it. And you can separate your knees as wide apart as feels good for your hips too. And then just breathe into your low back. Feel the expansiveness as the breath comes in to your low back so it literally widens. And you can feel your belly expanding too. One more nice full breath here. And then we'll bring our hands back to give us some help to come on up to sitting. We're going to come on around with our legs. And if you know sitting is best done for you up on a blanket, grab yourself a blanket. And also have your blocks handy in case, because we're going to bring the soles of our feet towards each other into a little Baddha Konasana. So it might feel better for your hips to support yourself. Let your feet, though, come out enough to where you feel like you have more space. Instead of trying to pull your heels in towards you, like you have a diamond shape right here created. And you can have your blocks under your knees if that feels better. And then think about easing your way forward a little bit from here, right? So You may, as you come, decide, oh, I just want to come a couple inches and stay right there. I mean, some of you, when your feet are out far like this, sometimes it feels really good to come farther forward and even letting your head hang, right? But don't push it. Let yourself be where it feels okay for your hips. And if that's just coming a little bit forward, come a little bit forward. If it's better to sit up tall, sit up tall. You can always use your hands too. If you're feeling like you need to have a little support with your hands behind you to lengthen up, do. And just release as much as you can in your hips. So you're not trying to push your knees down. You know, kind of imagining the knees just reaching away from the midline. Good. One more breath wherever you are. And we're going to come on back up. Now once you're up here to sitting, take a nice breath in. And as you exhale, twist to your left. It doesn't really matter which way you go. Go either way, but let yourself come around, and you can let this hand that's in front go across to your knee, or you can keep it on your feet if your feet are in close enough to touch your feet. Just be really mindful. Let it feel good. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to come back through center and go to the other direction. So again, just enjoy. Lengthen up through the back of your throat. Doesn't matter where you look. You can look to the side. You can look more behind yourself. One more inhale. And on the exhale, come on back into center. Bring your hands behind you. And see if you can stay up on, the tips of your fingers. And let yourself come back a little ways, but let your chest go forward, right? So you don't have to be, don't think about so much going low with your hands, but think about more chest coming forward. And feel that lift there. And engage the belly a little bit, but with your up this high on your hands, that lift comes from the base of your shoulder blades. Good, and then we'll come up and use your hands to help your knees come on up, and then stretch your legs on out and let your feet circle around a little bit, both directions. Shake out a little bit. Before you come down to your back, get your strap handy so that you just need to reach over to get it. You don't have to sit up again. And then come on down onto your back, on the floor. Bring your knees on in towards your chest. And see about letting your right hand be on your right knee, your left on your left, and let the knees circle in one direction, right? So the hands are kind of helping you make those circles. You're just circling, whether you chose to go clockwise or counter, it doesn't matter. Just feel how you're kind of outlining your sacrum there on the ground. You come to the side, you come like to the top or the bottom, and then you go to the other side. And we're going to stop and reverse the direction of those circles. So letting yourself then come into circling and feel that release there in your low back, in your sacrum, and your hips too. Good. And then finish off. Let's bring our feet down onto the floor and bring our arms alongside us here now. And now bend your elbows, let your palms face each other. You're now have your elbows bent to 90 degrees. So you feel like a robot. And press into the backs of your arms there. Roll your shoulders under. So kind of lift your chest up, roll your shoulders under. Your spine's off the floor. And then press into the arms and float up into a little bridge pose. So feel the back of your head into the floor gently. So you don't want to lift your chin up, which, feels really funny. You also don't want your chin to come way down into your chest, right? There's this space in your throat. Now you can lift up and down. If you feel like your feet aren't quite in the right place to do your bridge, then come down, readjust, and maybe try again. Feel your thighs. That's what you feel the most in bridge. You don't want to feel it in your back. And then let yourself release down for a breath or two. Now you can decide from here if you want to go back up or if you want to grab a block and come into supported bridge, do that. You can rest on a block. You can use the block to help you do any number of things. I mean, you can be on the block and let yourself stretch one leg down long on the floor or both legs if that helps open the front of your hips. Or if you're on the block and you want to put your feet up in the air, man, it's a fun way to do some ab work like that, being on the block and letting yourself do leg lifts, lowering one leg at a time towards the ground and letting yourself feel that you're staying very stable in the positioning of your pelvis, right? And you can do both legs if you want, or you can not do any of this. Be mindful, let yourself kind of find what feels best for you today. If being just resting in supported bridge feels really good, then do it. Or if you like to be on the block and move up and down, you can do that too. You can even change the height of your block. You know, if you feel like you want to come up into a little higher support. Good. Finish off whatever you're doing. So if you are still up in bridge and you need to come down, be mindful as you do. Let your knees come on into your chest. And you can do knees side to side. You can do those circles again. If you feel good to come into a happy baby, you can send your feet up in the air and either bring your hands around the outside of your legs onto the backs of your thighs, or hold on to your feet or your ankles. Just be mindful. Let it feel good. Good. And then we're going to bring our knees in so that our feet can go down and we can reach over and get those straps. And let's bring the strap onto both the balls of both our feet. As the feet go up in the air, you can bend your knees and kind of even your strap out if you can, right? So that you have your feet there. They can be away from you. Knees can be bent. No worries. Just let it feel pretty good when you get your feet up there and you're holding onto the strap. Now, if you need to, you can wrap your hands around the strap so that you're not feeling really, like if you have trouble, you know, with your hands holding things, I totally get that. So wrapping your hands around can help relieve. We're going to slip our left foot out of the strap and we're going to lower the leg down to the floor. So slowly lower the leg down. Let the right knee stay bent. And now once the left foot gets down, bend the right knee a little deeper. See if you can just let the knee come a little towards the outside of your ribs, so that it's not right on top of you. It's a little to the side. And then go ahead and try straightening that right leg out if you can, but don't pull it, right? It's fine to leave the leg away from you. Even if you have your knee a little bent, you're still opening up the back of your leg. So don't pull on your leg. Just let yourself enjoy feeling the kind of the shoulders releasing down, the weight of your hands, the weight of your arms, helping the back of the leg release. And just breathe. Enjoy watching your breath in and out, letting the back of the leg open up on its own. Good. Let's bring both ends of the strap now into our right hand. So you might have to undo it if you wrapped your hands all up. Left hand on the left hip. We're going to open the leg a little to the right. Now how far you go is up to you. Might be just a little bit. You may want to go down lower towards the ground. Just be mindful. Press gently into the strap. Feel your inner right thigh. And don't let your left hip pop up off the floor. Stay grounded, right? And we'll come on back up to the top of the leg. We're going to switch to bring our left hand over to hold the strap. And we're going to reach our right arm on to the ground beside us and come across. Now you can go into a twist or you can go just barely into a twist, right? You can barely come across the midline. There is that IT band again. If you want to go farther and deeper, you can bring the leg as far across over towards the left as you want, but that's not for everybody, right? Just enjoy. See if you can feel your foot gently pressing into the strap. Good. We're going to come on back up to the top. And we're going to put the left foot back up there into the strap and replace it so the right foot comes out and the right leg lowers down. So again, take your time. Once your right leg comes down, you can again wrap your hands if you want around your strap. Bend your left knee a little more. Think about it coming a little more towards the outside of your rib cage. And then again, how much you straighten the leg out, up to you. How far you want the leg to come away from you. Just make sure you're not pulling. You don't want a pulling sensation right at your sitting bone, right? That's where your hamstring attaches. And as some of you can attest, you do not want to pull that area. Just let yourself enjoy. Breathe. Enjoy the breath coming in and out. Feel the foot pressing gently into the strap. And we're going to bring both ends of the strap into the left hand, right hand on the top of the right hip, left leg opens to the left. And again, don't let your right hip pop way up off the floor, right? So press into the strap with your foot. You're very engaged, but you're also really keeping that right hip down. And then we'll bring the leg back up. We're going to switch to bring the right hand over to get the straps and stretch your left arm out beside you. Now you can go barely across the midline. That's a lot, really deep, actually stretch right there. If you want to go farther, you can, or not. Just let yourself, again, find what feels really good into the outside of your leg. Keep your left shoulder grounded. Good. One more breath here. And then bring the leg on back up. Let's put both feet back up there now. And now separate your feet in towards a little wide angle. You may just go a little wider than your shoulders. That might be far enough for you. Or you might like to slide the feet wider and wider apart for a wide angle. That's up to you. You've got control. You've got the strap. You can hold onto the strap and not go any further than you want. See if you can kind of imagine pressing your feet a little away from each other into the strap, right? If you want more, you can pull the strap in towards you and let yourself send your tailbone down. Don't do this if it's too much. Good. And then we'll bring the feet back up. We're going to take the strap off. Be careful not to bang yourself with the metal end of the strap. Let your strap come on off to the side. Bring your knees in. Some of you might even want to curl up into a little ball right now. Don't do it if it bothers your neck, but sometimes it feels really good just to roll into a little ball. Bring your face in towards your knees. And then come on back down with your head. Let your feet come down. Stretch your arms overhead for a second. And let your knees just gently come from side to side. So just gently, take your time. We're starting to get ready to come into our Shavasana. So I would like actually for you to do whatever you want to do right now, right? If you need to do any other stretch or movement or pose, just be mindful. I'm going to start to get lights first, and then I'll walk around for here at the studio. So support sometimes is the best thing that you can do for yourself to come into Shavasana, because you don't want to feel at all uncomfortable. So bolsters underneath knees can be really nice to help your pelvis just change angle a little bit. At home you can use blankets. You can like roll a blanket up and get it in to like a round roll that can go under your knees. But I'm going to walk around here and start to bring bolsters to people here. And the other thing, The other thing you might want is a little bit of support at the back of your head to let your neck release. You're welcome. I'm gonna ease my way around here. Find who would like to have a bolster by seeing if you raise your hand up and let me know. There's one over here. And if you need a blanket for underneath your knees, let me know that too. Let yourself be with your breath. And let your arms, if you feel uncomfortable in your shoulders, let your arms move around a little bit. I mean, traditionally the arms are out beside you and palms face up, but that's not always comfortable for everyone's arms. They can go higher or lower and feel better. Some people like to put their hands on their belly. So just let yourself release. If you start to feel really uncomfortable in Shavasana, it's fine to roll to your side anytime. So just feel that ease of the breath coming in and going out. And the breath will start to quiet down. As you lie there, your breath will start to usually become a little more shallow. And you don't even realize it's happening until you're off into thinking. And when you do come back to your breath, sometimes you need to breathe in a little deeper again. So just be okay with allowing the breath to change when it needs. And see if you can bring your focus back to your breath over and over and over. Letting those little quiet places slip in. And those are the time that your body and your brain can benefit from all you just did. Just by letting yourself completely and fully relax. back into wanting to move fingers and toes, hands and feet leading you if you can. And just start to move the way you naturally feel good to move, stretching or bringing your knees up. Just be mindful. You know you're welcome to roll to either your right or your left side if you're comfortable to do that. Come into a soft fetal position on either side. Maybe use your arm as a pillow and give yourself time to adjust there. But just be easy when you feel ready to rise up to sitting. See if you can let your eyes stay closed or close them again once you get up to sitting. But get comfortable in how you are sitting. Let yourself, whether you want to stretch your legs out or have your legs crossed, just be mindful as you sit up nice and tall. So the top of the head reaches up, the sitting bones reach down. Your hands go to a comfortable place for your shoulders. And then you can just watch your breath again, in and out through your nose. On your next exhale, let your hands come gently to meet there in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.